Hello, fellow COVID hostages. I know it's been a while since I dropped a video, but this last quarter was a little bit bleak, a little depressing, and to be honest, I really didn't feel like making any videos. But now I see a few glimmers of hope on the horizon, and I hope to share that hope with you. So, the big question on everyone's mind is this craziness over? Is the pandemic coming to a close? And, some people are hopeful, some people aren't, but let's take a look. So where I am in Ontario, dug forward to announce that Ontario will be loosening COVID-19 pandemic restrictions starting January 31st. Good news for people who don't see eye to eye, let's say, with the government in terms of these mandates and restrictions. In Ontario, just to get in a little bit more detail, if we look at the covid-19.ontario.ca website, go over to a pie chart here, which compares, it's univariate, but it compares vaccinated versus unvaccinated people in the hospitals. If we look over at the people in the hospital but not in intensive care, we see the vast majority are fully vaccinated. If we look over at the intensive care unit, we see that the majority are fully vaccinated, and the vaccinated come in at about 56% of the numbers. So recently, the CDC has come out and said that of the people that get serious infections from COVID-19, on average, these people tend to have between 3 and 4 other health issues. Things like heart disease, liver disease, obesity, diabetes, etc. So with that in mind, it's important to look at both sides of this issue. So on one hand, it has been shown that the vaccine can give people a certain degree of protection against serious infection. But on the other hand, if you look at these numbers here on the screen, it's pretty easy to come to the conclusion that whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated isn't the main determining factor. It doesn't seem like the main determining factor of whether you're going to get hit with a very bad case. It seems to be based on other factors. So based on that, it could lead certain people to feel that perhaps in lieu of this information, some of these mandates and restrictions can be heavy-handed when you consider the economic damage that they incur, the social and cultural damage, and just the division that's happening in our society is not very healthy for us. Okay, so that's Ontario. If we take just a really quick superficial look at the rest of Canada, in BC, gyms, fitness centers reopen in BC under new COVID-19 guidelines. I can tell you, just looking very quickly, Alberta, Manitoba, and the East Coast, the whole country, Omicron numbers are rising, but what we're seeing is that the cases are more mild on average and more flu-like. But Alberta, Manitoba, and the East Coast, they're still maintaining their restrictions for now. Last, I want to talk about Quebec. Listen, Quebec is on a league of their own over here. I don't know what's going on in that province, but the Quebec Premier says no plans to ease COVID-19 rules for now. They have some of the most stringent rules on the planet. I won't get into all the restrictions and mandates that they have, but they're pretty severe. I just want to share with you a clip that went viral not too long ago from a Quebec TV show.
Puis qu'est-ce qu'on devrait faire avec les gens qui ne veulent pas se faire vacciner?
On devrait appeler la police.
Oui.
Oui, oui.
S'ils n'ont pas leur vaccin, ça peut mettre beaucoup de personnes en danger. Fait que comme le gouvernement est en train de faire en ce moment, il faut leur couper petite chose à petite jusqu'à temps qu'ils se donnent et qu'ils se fassent vacciner.
En tout cas, on a des futurs politiciens à côté de nous.
So there you have it. Quebec TV teaching and training children to treat their fellow citizens and neighbors like an opponent in an MMA match. Remember, Quebecers, tap out, tap out. Okay? Not to be outdone, if we go over to the other side of the world into Australia, we find that they not only do they have similar stringent rules like Quebec, but in addition to that, they have quarantine camps where they actually send people who are either infected by COVID-19 or suspected to be infected.
Right.
And they are using the police force to round up the people escaping from these camps. Putting people in camps. What could possibly go wrong with that idea? Now, if we go south of us to our American brothers and sisters, we see that the US Supreme Court has blocked Biden's workplace vaccine mandate. It looks like that the Biden administration had to be reminded by their own Supreme Court that what they're trying to do is unconstitutional. So I'm glad that certain parts of the government are functioning in the way that they should over there. Over in England, it was a big surprise to me. This was very recently. UK lifts all COVID-19 restrictions, says Omicron wave, quote, has peaked, end quote. Very interesting. I'm happy for the Brits. If we take a look at Europe in general, countries are relaxing restrictions after Omicron spikes. Okay, so cases are either on their way up or just past the spike pretty much around the world. In France to ease COVID restrictions starting February 2nd, which is fantastic. Spain suggests a radical, quote, endemic, end quote, approach to Omicron. Treat it like the flu. What a novel idea. Netherlands to reopen shops, gyms, and hairdressers. Denmark to ease coronavirus restrictions despite Omicron surge. And if we look elsewhere, Singapore will begin easing its COVID restrictions next week. Thailand plans to ease COVID-19 restrictions as infections slow. South Africa becomes first country on the African continent to curtail COVID restrictions. And back to the Czech Republic, which has scrapped its mandatory vaccinations as daily cases hit new highs. So as they're still surging, they've cut the mandates. And that's just a quick look at what's going on. I wanted to stay more on the positive, but I hope that gives you a little bit of hope for the future, that maybe one day soon this could all be behind us in history. But until then, take care of yourself. Make sure you're taking a lot of vitamin D. Make sure you're sleeping well, you're not stressing too much, and make sure you're checking up on people to make sure everyone's all right. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.